For context, I grew up undiagnosed as an autistic and ADHDer, and I didn't receive any accommodations. I didn't receive any information about my difficulties. I didn't have any insight about my difficulties. And I just assumed, like many of us do when we're not diagnosed or educated about neurodivergence, that my struggles were a result of a personal flaw or shortcoming. I didn't understand social norms. I always wanted to monologue about my interests, whatever I happened to be passionate about at the time. I didn't understand the concept of social reciprocity, so my interactions were often very one-sided. I had sensory difficulties like sensitivity to tags in my clothing. My own clothes would chafe me often, and I had attentional difficulties. While I could focus in class, I often found that my attention was wandering out the window. Most of school seemed boring and irrelevant to me, the exception being creative writing. I loved English as a subject, and I loved storytelling. From a young age, I would often write fantastic stories set in other worlds. It was a form of escapism in which I could leave behind a reality that was often confusing and boring for one that was much more exciting, inviting, and understandable. Because I acted different, I had a bit of an American accent, and apparently many autistics learn their pronunciation of words from TV, and I was consuming a lot of American cartoons as a child. I stuck out. Growing up in Australia with a slightly American accent often led to me being singled out, and my motor skills differences meant that I walked and behaved in unusual ways, and so I was often bullied. When I look back at my childhood, all I can remember is this profound sense of loneliness, that I couldn't understand other people, that I was weird and some part of me was completely unacceptable to others, and that I was forever condemned to isolation. Looking back, I also recognize that my parents exhibited signs of undiagnosed neurodivergence, and they themselves had an insecure attachment style, which manifested in our relationship. It didn't feel like they were attuned to my needs. When I struggled, they had difficulty with empathizing and showing compassion. They seemed very consumed with their own interests, and they were very rigid in their thinking and limited in their outward displays of affection and support. For me, it felt like I couldn't get any solace, comfort, or understanding at home, and then I was forced to go to school where I struggled to find peer acceptance. There were some positive experiences, a few good friends who helped me feel grounded, helped me feel something like normal and accepted, and teachers who went above and beyond to bring me into the fold, to make me feel accepted